So, hi, Tiffany. You have walked the path that many women consider adoption are just starting on.
Mhm.
Our goal for this interview is to shed light on the realities of the adoption journey, what to expect, and the emotions you might encounter along the way. By sharing your story, we hope that you can help others feel supported while you navigate through this tough decision. We're going to start off with a couple of questions. It's going to be personal experience first, answer what you're comfortable with. If not, we can just move on, okay?
Sure.
What led you to place your child up for adoption?
Well, I was put into a pretty sticky situation. I went back and forth for many weeks. Brandy can tell you it was it was emotional. I really thought it was the best choice just due to my current life and like how I was, I've already have 2 children with special needs. So having another child into that, it's not, it wasn't ideal for me to have 3 children, but having that open adoption choice was a really, really good thing for me because, I still get updates, phone calls, emails, pictures. Me and the parents were pretty close. What led me to that is making sure that I was able to give my child a stable place to live with loving parents. And I think if it wasn't for me meeting the parents and like actually getting to know them and having the opportunity to, have Brandy by my side and multiple other things, I don't think I would have gotten through it.
So, speaking of emotions, what emotions do you feel like you've experienced during and after the adoption process?
During, it was very up and down. I was, pregnant and emotional. Everybody gets emotional when they're pregnant, obviously. Brandy can tell you I was one of the favorite people at the doctor's office because I was always there. um, with the doctors all the time, and we would just talk about it. I'd go back and forth and be like, oh, maybe I do want to keep her, and then I don't, and then I do, and I didn't realize the roller coaster of emotions I would have afterwards. So after I gave birth, it was a pretty, it wasn't traumatic, I would say, but it was definitely something that I will never forget. During that birth process, my birth plan changed completely. I wanted Anna to be in the room first and foremost, and then actually I was too anxious and emotional. And then Brandy actually was there to experience everything with me. She was in the room. She held my daughter for the first time. So it was a beautiful experience the way it happened. But it was a lot of emotions. Everything was like up and down and up and down. And afterwards, it was very real and raw. There were so many things that I didn't know how to express. Yeah, there's 1,000 different emotions you can describe with this situation. It's never easy. This situation for me, from my personal experience, this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. So,
Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah.
What was your experience creating a birth plan or an adoption plan?
Well, it's actually funny that you say that. Like I said, I was very particular with how I wanted things, not knowing how things would go. So, like, for instance, I wanted her in the room with me for the whole time I was in the hospital. And funny thing is, we gave birth during a snowstorm. So the hospital had kind of an uh-oh, and there were too many babies being born during that time. I had her in January. So, there was snow everywhere. And so we ended up having to share a postpartum room, which, for adoptive parents and like birth parents, we were supposed to have a separate type of situation, but that never happened. But I think it's better how it went. I'd experienced a medical emergency during my birth. So it was pretty, like I said, it was tired. There were a lot of people after I'd given birth. Like I said, it was weird. I had like a cheerleading team for when I signed the adoption paper. And it was like a really good experience. Like, everybody dreads that moment. And I dreaded it too before I even experienced it. You know what I mean? I had Brandy right there by my side. She was my number one cheerleader, man. She even came with Subway right after I'd given birth, like right as soon as I could eat. It was the best thing ever. Like, but anyway, so back to your original question. My experience with that, it was so, like I said, it was real and raw and emotional, and getting to plan that is so interesting to me. I will never ever forget Kayla and Ludana. One of them was an anesthesiologist assistant and another one was a nurse. And I will never forget, they let me play my own music in the operating room, which I felt was very fitting. It was good to create that birth plan with Brandy and have that, on paper, but it was also fun to kind of I didn't follow it completely, but it was an experience, I'd say, that definitely fit for what I was going through.
What song stuck with you at that moment?
Well, so she was born at 4:03 p.m. and the song that was playing was Fancy by Reba McEntire. And it's funny because, this is my first daughter, so I was like, wow, that's a strong song to come out to. And I'm not like a big country person or nothing, but that when that came and she was there, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real. And like I said, Brandy was the first one to hold her, and it was such a surreal experience to see like what I'd created in the 9 months that she was inside of me. You know what I mean? I have boy versions of me, but I've never seen a girl version until then, and it was surreal. When I got to see James and Anna for the first time, those are the adoptive parents, and they held her, it was like something meant to be. You could see that Anna was meant to be a mom. She was so excited. They told all their family. They had a giant baby shower. It was beautiful. Like we kind of planned our birth plan together, I guess, if you could say it like that.
You mentioned the relationship with the adoptive parents. Do you feel like you still have a relationship with them, with your child?
Yeah, 100%. We talk almost every day, or if not, at least twice or 3 times a week. We have a text thread. We have video chats. Maybe, I think it's like twice a month that we do a video chat just to kind of check in, see how each other's doing. It's nice to have that relationship with them. We're pretty close in that sense. And I think it's weird because I look at these stories where some people aren't as close, and I'm like, that's interesting. We've never had that vibe of not being close.
How did the support of others, say in a social setting or even the adoption agency, help during this time?
Well, there was a lot. So during my pregnancy, I had Brandy at almost every doctor's appointment, which was very helpful because A, she was there to support me in whatever I needed in that sense, but B, she was also there to help me in my personal, vendettas about like how I was feeling and like what I was going through and what emotions I had and what cravings I was going through. I can't tell you, Brandy knows so many things that, this is going to sound so weird, but I also had the help of my ex-husband and his current girlfriend. And when I first met with Brandy, it was about 9 weeks pregnant. We met at a Freddy's, and I will never forget it. I met with Brandy. I was like, everything's all good. And then I was like, nope, can't do it. She reached out to me twice. And then I was like, nope, I'm not going to reach back out to her. You know what? I'm a mom. I can handle this. I can do it. And then 15 weeks, I think it was, or like 13 weeks, somewhere in there, I'd reached back out to her, and I was like, hey there.
Remember me?
Remember me? And then we met at a Brahms, and it was like the morning time, and I was like super emotional, and she was like, you want breakfast? I was like, no. And we both just sat there because their breakfast was trash. I don't know, Brandy, if you remember that. She was a really big supportive counselor during that time for me, and so was my ex-husband and his girlfriend. Like, we had our ups and downs for sure, but like in the time of me being pregnant, I had a lot of help with my kids in that sense. There was a lot of ups and downs because I was pregnant and emotional, you know what I mean? And now that I look back at it, it was a weird, crazy 9 months.
Is there anything you regret about the adoption decision? And do you have any advice for birth mothers who are struggling to make their own decision?
To answer this honestly, no. I don't have any regrets about this decision, only because of the fact I had a clear understanding of it from the jump. I knew what I was doing, and the advice I'd give to anyone is I'd really suggest you look at all aspects of your life and see if this is something that you can do for the rest of your life. A child isn't like a pet. A child isn't like, something to just have. It's not an accessory. It's something that you have to fully take care of and you're responsible for, and you make sure that they have clothes and food and everything. And if you see in all aspects that child can have a better life in a different sense, then I would suggest doing this. An open adoption has been one of the coolest things in my experience that I've ever experienced. I'm not saying that it's not hard, because it definitely is. You know what I mean? I have nights where I'm like, wow, well, I could have done this or I could have done that. But I also take my emotions out of it, and I see that she is a happy, healthy little girl, and she is thriving. It's more than I could have ever asked for. This is a very big decision for anyone, and I suggest that you really, like I said, pay attention to all aspects of your life. Those are human beings. Those are real lives that you're creating, you know?
Is there any stigma you had to deal with during the adoption process overall?
I mean, I had a lot of people that were very not okay with this decision. They're my god family, and they were like, why would you do this? You have other children. Why would you put this up? This is your only daughter. Like, this is something, a God's gift, and all sorts of stuff. They would put everything on me. Brandy can tell you I'd come to her some days crying because they would be, telling me that I can do it. I don't need to do this for her. But I just followed my heart and my soul, you know what I mean? And like I said, James and Anna, they were like a big support in this. I knew right then and there that they were meant to be in my life. And anyone that had the stigma of telling me, no, you shouldn't have done that, you weren't there. You don't know. You don't know my thoughts and feelings on this. And, it's crazy because I have children, and I look at them and I look at her, and they're still connected. They're still siblings. They're still a part of each other's lives. They just don't live together. And that's okay. And I've gained their family, and that's something that I could never see my life without now. And it's a really beautiful experience to have. And I can't imagine my life without that now. So the stigma that those people had were very wrong. And it's actually crazy because I've lost people from this choice and decision, but my life has gotten a lot better, actually. So I'm not really mad about that at all.
Any advice you can offer a birth mother facing some sort of stigma similar to this?
Listen to yourself. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to the fact that if they tell you can do this, you'll have support, you'll have help. You do what's right for you.
So how did you hear about Adoption Choices of Kansas?
Google. I was just Googling one night, and there it was. Before I even got with Adoption Choices, I went to one of those places where they confirm the pregnancy for you before you go to the OB. And they were a Christian-based place, and they were so excited that I was having a baby, and they were like, oh my God, we'll give you all the diapers and all the everything. And I was just really overwhelmed by that. When I Googled Adoption Choices were the first place to come up. So I gave them a call, and I think the first person I spoke to was Brandy, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was kind of like fate in a weird way. I was not expecting to fall in love with the couple that I found in the adoption agency. They give you a book or pamphlets, I guess you could look at, and it's describing all the families. We thought it was really funny because it's like a J.C. Penney's catalog. Go through, but when I seen that, something just said to contact them and be a part of them. They just have genuine senses about themselves. When I met them, they were so sweet, so genuine. We just kept in contact and gave them all the updates, all the ultrasounds, everything I could update them with. And as I was getting bigger, it was crazy because it just flew by.
Are you happy with the work that you've done with the agency?
Absolutely. I love Brandy. She's been a part of my life for, a long time. And, if I ever do need her, she really is there for me. But, it's crazy. She was there for everything for me. And like I said, I can never repay her for the love and support that she has given me. I think she's an awesome counselor. But anyway, that's how I found Adoption Choices. And I think working with Brandy was an awesome experience. And working with the whole team, actually.
Thank you for sharing your story. It is a very remarkable story.
You're welcome. No problem.
If you're pregnant and considering adoption, Adoption Choices of Kansas and Missouri is here for you. Please visit our website at www.adoptionchoicesofkansasmissouri.com or call or text us at 316-391-4904.